Welcome to the Radio Rejekts podcast. To my right, I have DJ Sab,
Yes.
Savvy,
Sabalicious.
Yes. And then I am Lou, of course. We are the hosts of Radio Rejekts, and we always like to have our guests introduce themselves. So go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's Enrique. You guys can call me Rico.
That's what we were talking about too. It's like, how do we want to?
It's always a tough one. It's always a tough one.
So your kids, the kids in your camp, would you call it a camp, I guess, or your league? How would you?
It's like a travel soccer club.
Soccer
academy, depending who you're talking to and things.
They call you Rico.
They call me Rico.
Okay.
They actually just found out my name's Enrique.
Wow. They were just like, I always thought his name was Rico. So let's go into that then. Okay, so the reason why you're here is obviously because you have a soccer organization. I would say it's better that way too as well because, I mean, from the looks of it, you've obviously grown. I've known you for quite some time. You've grown from a few leagues. Didn't you kind of start with just like lessons almost? Like training?
Yeah, I used to be a trainer. Back then when we had met, I was a trainer working at a soccer club, soccer academy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of just progressed as time went, and I started taking on teams and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually it was just like, I'm just going to do this for me. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it for me.
So as of right now, what is the amount of teams do you have right now?
So we're going into our third year now, and we are at about 21, 22 teams now.
And how did it start off?
Well, we started, thankfully we've been training and coaching in Naperville, me and my business partner, Alex. So we kind of took some time off from the other club that we were at and took some time to kind of like evaluate everything and see the route that we wanted to take in. But we were lucky enough that we had a good turn up at tryouts. And year one, we started with 7 teams. So about 70 families on average.
So just starting off, would you make like an overall announcement, or how did you get that ball rolling where you already had?
It was odd. It was really different, to be honest. Like, I kind of had threw a little nudge back then, like, hey, I'm not going to be working here anymore at this club, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to take some time, focus on myself, focus on school. Maybe in the future you guys will see me with my own thing. Okay. And it kind of just stayed like that. And it took me almost an entire year for us to start Rampage. We wanted to do it right. A lot of these clubs are super volunteer based and things like that. I wanted everybody to be trained the same, consistency, have good cadence within the club and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it took us a little bit of time, but yeah, we went on social media. We put flyers up. We put flyers at schools, word of mouth. Like everybody that we used to train and their mamas, we told, hey, there's going to be tryouts. And I think year one, we had 200 people at tryouts.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I was not prepared whatsoever.
So how is that tryout involvement? Because, essentially, this is not where, I guess can you explain the difference between a public district league compared to your league organization?
Well, even just park districts and other clubs, everybody is so different, right? There's some clubs that are just we call them glorified park districts, mm-hmm. right? It's just hey, you play travel, you get mm-hmm. to be on a club, yet you're playing at a level in which is still kind of park district. So park districts are more fun, obviously. The way I look at it is, it's you want to put your kids in there first to see if they've enjoyed the sport before you invest all this time and money, right? The soccer world is completely different. So for us, we're super specialized. So we specialize on foot skills, and that's kind of our bread and butter. So the biggest difference is just the competition level between the park district and our travel leagues. We travel all over the country.
So do you notice that there's already a baseline foundation for kids that actually go into your tryouts?
Yes and no. Some people, kind of my parents, they didn't really understand the difference. Oh, you're playing soccer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you still have those parents that are just yeah, sure, you're gonna play here, you're gonna play there. So some people still come in here hey, my kid's a beginner, he's 15, and I'm oh man,
it's gonna be tough.
I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
I can train him, but I got nothing for you. So it really depends.
What's the ideal age then?
To start your kids at?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong guy, man. I'm the definition of tough love, man. My daughter started travel at 4.
And you Is that set, I guess, a certain exception because the fact that you already have this kind of training resources that you were able to kind of provide her those things?
Yeah, 100%.
Or are there just kids that are just naturally good at this?
Both, you know, but I think there's so many kids out there that are just natural talent that don't have like the resources, or the parents don't really understand how to, you know, go about doing these things. That could be so much better.
Yeah.
But there are some kids that like their parents would be like, oh, we're coming out of Park District. He's 12. And like anybody in the travel world might be like, man, you're 12 and you're barely going to join travel, you know. But I've had some kids come out that are 12 years old and they're just ballers.
Yeah.
You just can't judge them anymore. You don't know what kind of areas they're playing in.
So you're kind of open eyes to
yeah, for sure.
So how has your daughter excelled as far as like from being 4 to? I mean, we showed the video. We had the picture up where she was kind of she was crossing over somebody and it looked devastating.
I mean, for her, it's just like, I don't think she really like looks at it like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I have this conversation with parents all the time. They're like, oh, well, my daughter is 6. Should I put her in a travel? In my head, I'm like, yeah. But then I also got to think about it too. Like, my daughter didn't get to experience what it's like to not have to like really work hard at playing soccer and just go out there and have fun, you know, with her friends and stuff. So like, I don't want to take that away from kids either.
Yeah.
But then you look at, you know, my daughter and you kind of like, you know, but every kid is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, she's done well. She works hard. She's the definition of hard work at the end of the day. I don't like to gloat about my kids, but like, she's not like super athletic. You know, she's not, you know, she's just hard work, man. Like,
and that's going to get you places too as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about that too. This is what I kind of want to jump into is that when I met you, I wanted you on the podcast because of the fact that you have this organization. You have you have your own personal, your business and your passion. But I was telling Sab that when I met him, he was this type of individual that had this drive that was kind of like you only see in so many people. And it reminded me of you.
Nice.
When we worked together, I was telling him, you would always come in and I would have like some sort of idea and you'd be like, okay, so how are we going to get this off the ground? Like, you know,
Dude,
whatever
that's
it is.
me. That's
all
me,
the time.
So what's the first step?
Yeah. What's the first step? Okay. And then
I already made a website.
Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and see you, you know, whatever. I'll see you soon. And the next day you'll come in and you'll be like, I did some research and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But every time I met this man, he was always like, okay, so what are we going to do? Like, how do we get to the next step? Like, you should let me. I remember you wanted to manage me at one point.
Bro, I'm about everything, man. Like,
you
honestly.
were just like, and you had that drive where it's like, even if you weren't in that particular realm of business, you were like, I can find a way to figure that out.
Right.
Because when I met you, when we met, did you already have Rampage started?
No. This is my third year. No.
So this was like a little bit, you know, as far as like, then what were you doing that I was like, man, he was always hustling. Maybe it was through work too as well.
I don't know if we want to get into that. No,
it's like personally, like it just cuts to a scene where you're just like flipping the sign like the Joker or something like that. Come on in. Okay, so let's go back to the Rampage and everything like that. So when you first started, you had 200, right?
We had 200 kids at tryouts.
Tryout.
Yeah, we took about 70 kids.
How does that work? I mean, I don't know. This is completely, it's interesting, but it's completely out of my like view of like how that would work as far as how do you do the vetting process? Like, how do you kind of figure out who goes where? Because they're all going to separate teams, correct?
Correct.
And you're already associated with those teams. You know individuals that are.
Well, I mean, for year one, we didn't know what to expect, right? Like year one, we're like, okay, like so we pretty much break it down by age groups, right? So like, it was, you know, I'll give you a number, like anybody born from 2011 and 2010, right? The little guys, you know, your tryout is from 4:30 to 6 o'clock, and then we'll do certain drills that will show us different things, right? Like athleticism, I can't teach athleticism. You're born with athleticism. Yeah. Right. Like all the technical skills, how to maneuver a ball, the knowledge of the game, things like that. Like I can teach that stuff. Right. But we look at things like that. A lot of people are like, oh, like for the vetting process, especially with the younger guys, everyone's like, how do you vet somebody that's 6 years old, 7 years old?
Yeah.
at that age, it just really comes down to like attention span, and if they want to be there. A lot of kids play sports because their parents played sports,
Yeah.
or because their parents want them to play sports, or So there's some kids that don't even want to be there. They're super disconnected, but their parents are like, no, you can do it, and it's like they gotta want it too at the end of the day.
Right.
So if they listen, they work hard at that young age, I got a spot for you. But they had to listen. Listening is huge.
And do you have to have that conversation with the parents sometimes
Absolutely.
and say like, look, like, I just don't think this is going to be ideal, or do you kind of just say it didn't? Do you go through the avenue of saying it's just not working for us, or do you do that extra step and say like, look, I just don't think this individual kid, whatever, just doesn't want to?
It depends on the situation, for sure.
Depends on
like,
the parent too, if they can even take that conversation.
Yeah, because you hit the nail right on the head. Like, there's some parents that are like, no. You don't know my kid. He gave you a bad day. And I'm just like, okay.
Like, I know your kid more than you.
Yeah, this is awkward.
Meanwhile, he's just like punching some other kid
I
in the
kid you not.
face.
I mean,
He's playing baseball over there.
Yeah, right.
I think he's better at baseball.
Yes, wrong sport, guys. Wrong sport. I mean, there's been times where like when I used to work at another club, like I'll be like, man, I don't think this kid, like, sometimes it just takes more to get their attention span, and it takes away from the other kids. And at the same time, the parents are all paying the same amount of money. If your kids are not developing, that's my fault, right? And I can't
You can't play favorites. You can't do it.
Yeah, and I can't be like, hey man, well, I gotta take more time on this kid because of, like, I literally had a situation where, like, you always try to like break a kid down. Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, I try to break a kid down so I can mold them into like how I need them or want them to be as a player and thought process and things like that. Because some of these kids are like the only kids that are like super wealthy and they don't have any manners, or it just depends, right? People come from different areas, or and some parents some people don't get disciplined. And I remember this one kid, I had told the guy that I was working for, like, hey man, like, I don't know about this guy, like, I'm doing my best, man, and he's like, no, you gotta make him your success story. And I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a long one. And I was like, okay, cool, how can I break this kid down? And I was like, all right, cool, man, like, I'm gonna need you to sit down for 10 minutes. He didn't care. I'm like, okay, cool. Next practice, all right, I'm gonna need you to sit for 20 minutes or watch the whole practice. He didn't care. I was like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna run this kid to the ground. It's like, I'm gonna give you 5 laps. Okay. Lap 1, lap 2 is walking. I'm like, hey man, let's go, man, you gotta get it together. Lap 3 comes back shirtless. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Like, where's your shirt? Oh, I don't know, I got hot, I took it off. And it's just like, lap 3 comes out without shoes, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so it just like,
How old was the?
oh, this kid was like 10. Like,
he was just
he didn't care. Like I said, he didn't care. He wasn't well disciplined. But like, for example, at Rampage, like, that's one of the things that we preach. Like, I tell parents straight up, like, your kid's gonna behave better at home and at school. I guarantee you. I was like, if you guys aren't okay with tough love, like, we're not the place for you.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't got time to take, to spend.
You can't teach a kid to be nice. It's a waste of time.
Exactly.
So have you seen? I mean, it's only been 3 years, right?
Yeah. 2 full years going on my third. Yeah.
So technically, you haven't seen the progression into where? Because how far does the ages go from within your group?
I mean, for us, we're fortunate enough that we have almost every age group. I
guess what I'm saying is, what is the cutoff?
College.
So you can have like
right into
high
college.
school,
17, 18-year-olds.
So at that point, though, then give me a little feedback on this. Would they, if they're going through high school, like, team, are they almost coming to you as an extra team, or are they coming to you just for training?
They don't play for us that season.
If
they are playing with a
with
team
high school, yeah.
Is that because it's just when it goes back to they won't have any sort of, it'd be like a distraction?
Not necessarily. Like, it really depends. But like, the way we look at it, there's a lot of clubs that will tell you, like, no, you don't play high school. Don't play high school. Like, it's a waste. I'm gonna get you all these opportunities with colleges and stuff here, but like, for me personally, that was some of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
Playing for my high school and stuff. Like, I loved it, man. I loved, like, every minute of it. I used to look forward to training and games and the bus rides, back and stuff. So it's like, I encourage these kids to play high school. I'm like, dude, play high school. Play high school. You're going to love it. Like, just play high school. So, like, with us, that's kind of like one of those like things that we talked about at the beginning when we talked about like starting the club. It's like, are we gonna let these kids play high school or not? And I was like, no, we're gonna let these kids play high school.
So you, when they have that option, you almost encourage them to go try out for high school.
For sure.
But I mean, can they come to you as far as like for just training? Like, is there any, like, you have training courses, not just playing in the league and the season? Do you have
Correct.
just like, we're just going to come to you just for, so they could still do that if they wanted to?
Well,
Just
the high school
compete.
players, not necessarily. The high schools don't really let you do that stuff.
Okay.
really?
Yeah, they'll be like, no, it's too much. Well.
Do you have some like, some people that still do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have this one kid that just kind of like shows up. And I'm like, dude, you know your team's not here? And he's like, oh, I know. I was like, did you practice this week? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So he'll just like run laps, jump in on a drill here and there. But he'll be there for like 3 hours. He's a workaholic. He's a baller.
It's awesome.
You know.
Can't get enough of
Is
it.
he,
Can't get
but
enough.
he's good.
Yeah, he's a baller.
So, I mean, do you kind of see as far as like some of them are going to get picked for universities and schools?
Yeah, for sure. Like we have an 03 team and an 04 team, which is like our sophomores. And then we have a freshman team. And for them, for sure, like there's a handful of kids that there's like at least 3 kids that could play D1 all day
Yeah.
on there. But like I don't see like any of them not playing college if they want it.
Yeah.
If they want it, they gotta put in the work, especially these next few years for them. But they
So for people, because like I'm coming at you because I have no idea
No,
how
of
that
course.
works.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
I mean, I know people like as far as like basketball, you kind of hear about those things a little bit more. Like you're gonna go to a university and then you're gonna get drafted. It's not as common for kids to get drafted. I guess if there's a draft, straight into a league, like a bigger league, whatever it may be, like the NBA of it.
right.
You know, it's not as common as that.
No.
For soccer, is that even like a case?
It like for women's soccer, yes, they have a draft. I actually went to the draft last year. I went to a convention and the draft was there, which is pretty cool, cool experience. But for the guys, you had to like play through an academy. You had to like try to get into all these, you know, like it's so specific for all the boys. And I mean, they just kind of like, honestly, they penny pinch like anywhere that they can.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so many different things. But like for example, like we have one of our coaches, Victor Pineda. He played for the Fire. You know, and he's one of our good friends. We've known him for a long time, and he grew up playing through the Fire Academy, and he got picked up there, and et cetera, et cetera.
So when the Fire Academy is similar kind of to what you do, but
Correct.
you're
but they're
almost,
associated with the Chicago Fire.
and it's almost like you go there because you're better in your chances because you're right in front of them.
Exactly.
So like the Chicago Fire is its own league, right? Its own
Well, they're their own club. Yeah.
club, okay? And then there's country clubs. No, literally like that, I guess,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah,
a
seriously.
USA. Does Canada have one?
Yeah.
Canada? Okay. I don't know, man. This is like somebody's gonna watch this and gonna be like, I had no idea, because like
Yeah.
I'm almost also confused sometimes at the European clubs.
That one that gets complicated.
Yeah.
You get what you do? You understand though?
Yeah.
Like, well,
I
how
kid you
much-
not, I just had this conversation with my daughter. Like she was so confused on like what? Like I had to explain to her. I was like, hey, you want to play for the women's national team? She was like, no, I want to play for Rampage. And I was like, well, that's a separate thing. So think about it like an umbrella, right? Like the U.S., you have the U.S. national team, right? So your top 22 players, you know, can go on there on that roster. But then you have so many different things. There's different leagues. There's different academies. But like every league has its own academies. So like I play in a NISL league. It's called Northern Illinois Soccer League.
Okay.
And there's like thousands of clubs, but they're smaller clubs.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have like the MLS DA, which is Developmental Academy. And they play like all their, you know, it's super like,
Do you see the confusion in my eyes, man?
dude, it's confusing. Like,
It is confusing
Yeah.
because that's why I think it's more informative, because people have this common dialogue for, you know, football, for football as in like American football,
Not football.
not football, basketball, like they are. You go to a university, these universities are common, you know, Michigan, whatever it may be, and then from there you're going to go to possibly put yourself into a draft in which you'll go to there's only like, you know, a few, like the NFL
Yeah, like
or
one
the
major
NBA, whatever it may be, that are very common. with soccer, it's so complex.
It is. It's because every country has their own.
Yeah, but does that give players a lot more options to be, I guess, more options to be successful, so that they're able to, there's longevity, and as far as like financial stability and all that kind of stuff with playing with these?
Yes and no. Like, so like to your point, like the NBA, the NFL, like the US has the MLS, the Major League Soccer, Major Soccer League. But there's so many different leagues. There's like in Spain they have La Liga, right? Then you have Mexico, you have Liga MX, but that's like their country's league. Then you have the Premier League, So yes and no. Like the reason I would say that it doesn't give them any better of an opportunity than joining the NBA is just because the rest of the world plays soccer.
Yeah.
So there's so much competition in soccer.
But people can play for teams like Chicago Fire and all that, and they still have the ability to live off of that.
Yes, but playing in the MLS is like the beginning.
Yeah.
It'll be like.
So can you go from the MLS and then still get recognized? You still get people. What's the youngest that you can join those teams?
16.
Wow.
So you could still be in high school and still play for these.
I mean, I'm sure you guys. Who knows? You guys might know. But you guys know who Christian Pulisic is?
No.
I'm sorry.
He plays on the men's national team, and he plays for Chelsea. He is one of the few Americans that plays overseas. And I think, I don't know, it might have been it wasn't his debut, but whatever. He had a game with the men's national team during the World Cup. After the game, he got on a plane, and he went to prom.
Wow.
So it's like, you're just like, oh, okay.
How do you think they handle that, though?
I have no idea, man. I think about that all the time.
That's crazy. He's probably like, man, this school stuff.
I don't even have to be here.
This is lame.
This is lame.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, those are big.
Yeah.
You mentioned Chelsea. Like, even I know those names, like those teams. So, I mean, to be able to, like, how would that happen? If he works for, I guess not works, but if he plays for them, he has to fly over there.
Correct.
For every game?
And he lives out there.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, he lives out there.
So he goes to school out there too.
No, he's done with school now. I mean, I don't know if he went to
At the
college.
time,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like.
So can we get a little background as far as like you personally, how you got involved in soccer?
It's gonna be long.
Because you had some injuries too, right? Those were like.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the turning point of
the turning point into
Yeah.
why I went into coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, I played in high school. I played at JJC. I tore my ACL there, and then kind of just tore my meniscus after that, playing like in the summer league, and it's just like, okay, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna bounce back. I played, some travel team and stuff like that. It's just kind of like never gets back to how you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like my doctor being like, look, man, if you're gonna be a bitch, ooh, we got it. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that one out. But
as he's writing you your prescriptions, look, man, you're gonna be
you're gonna be a yeah. But seriously, he legit told me that, and he's like, if you're gonna go in like that, he's like, don't play no more. He's like, you're gonna get hurt again, and he was right. I just kept getting hurt. My ankle, my other knee, and I'm just like, man, how old am I? I had my surgery at 19.
Your ACL.
Wow. Yeah, and meniscus.
Okay, so
2 for 1.
So I mean, but one happened, and then you got some surgery for it, and then it happened again, or one happened.
No, when I was playing in college, I tore my ACL, and then it was like a slight tear. So I just was playing with like a brace, and they're like, "You're fine, like as long as you don't do anything crazy,
Yeah.
And then I kind of like never took care of it and never really looked at it. And then over the summer, I was playing in another league, and it kind of just my meniscus went.
Okay, so you were playing on an injured.
Yeah.
Even though it was
Smart.
a slight, they told you like it was okay to kind of play.
Yeah, you could play with a torn ACL.
And those are like deadly.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like completely torn off. It had a slight tear, so I was like, meh.
But I mean, do you notice, because this was quite some time ago, do you notice the difference in players that tear their ACLs now, like the ability to kind of bounce back from it?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I hear so much about it, like from other podcasts or from other like just searching through YouTube and everything
insane.
like that. There's the ability to bounce back from it. not even if you're on a professional level where obviously you have all those resources, but even someone that's through the high school leagues or whatever it is, they still have more access to be able to recover.
I just think there's just more science behind it now. You know what I mean? Like I think people just understand it to a broader aspect where they're just like,
because that's like career ending.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But then you look at, and I kind of thought about that too, because D Rose tore his whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like D Rose, right?
He bounced back, maybe.
Bounced back. And look at him now, and it's just like, man, like, but then
he has like spurts of greatness.
Yeah,
that comes out.
But he also has a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to do that, and even when he first, what was that, 2009 or 2000? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it might have been 2009.
No.
When he tore it.
Was it 2009?
It might have been 2009.
Ooh, I don't know if it was that.
No, 2012 or 2011.
It was
maybe.
Like
either way, we'll look it up. I'll put it up
teens.
somewhere around here.
Yeah.
He's just dunking on my head. So even at that time, you see the progression of even now. If he tore it now, he might have been able to.
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's no doubt about it. I was just listening to like Stephen Curry, like, oh, I broke my hand, but I'll be back in like 4 weeks. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
It just comes out to like the proper therapy and the proper nutrition and like taking care of yourself. And I mean, they have so many resources.
Stem cells.
Yeah, stem cells.
Stem cells is a big thing too as well.
So it's just like, man.
Okay,
but definitely.
So hold on, I got a question
go ahead.
too.
No, go ahead.
So what was like the discrepancy? So you're going through this injury, and you're like, you want to continue soccer, but you just honestly don't know how. What was some things that you saw in the clubs? Not to put any clubs down.
Yeah.
But what made you be like, you know what, I can maybe start my own league club and make it better? Like what were the things that you saw that you wanted to make better?
Like for me personally, I think everyone's situation is differently, but like for me, and I love the guy. All right, I love the guy that I used to work with. Like I really do. Like I'm super blessed to have ever met the guy. But like just the whole like thing, how I got involved was like super surreal. Like I had mentioned to the guy, like, hey man, I want to do this, and then one day just drops off a card at the bank.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you're serious, show up. I'm like, okay, cool. So I worked there for a long time.
This is your now business partner?
No, this is before.
Okay, before.
This is the league you used to work for.
Okay. Yeah, the club that I used to work at. And he was just like, yeah, man, like, do your thing. I was like, okay. He taught me a lot, like, as far as, like, the training aspect. But, like, you know me, like, I've always been, like, super ambitious to, like, whatever I do, I want to make sure it's successful.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Failure is not an option. And like I said, going back to how you were raised and stuff, But, like, for me, I wanted to do so many different things. And like I said, you know me, like I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. This would be better. And for me, it was just like, okay, cool. You can do one of those 10 things you just said. I'm like, man, you know how great we would be if I could do this? And like eventually the way it kind of happened was like the dude kind of like disappeared. Mm-hmm. And I kind of ran everything for like a year or two. Mm-hmm. And people thought I was the owner, like, oh, man, hey, this is the owner. I'm like, oh, I'm not the owner. I'm just their DOC, their doc, their director of coaching. And then eventually I was like, man, I can do this so much better for me. Don't get me wrong. The money was great.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't going to be the same. But at the end of the day, I'd rather do something like the right way in my eyes, right? And not make as much money and, make sure that we're impacting the right people. But there was just so many different things like social media.
Yeah.
Just simple brand awareness, making sure people know who we are and, not taking everybody. Like I wanted to be like super strict. Yeah. Like even people now, they'll be like, oh, Rampage, oh, that's too hard. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
You're
good.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good compliment, I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want people to have the mindset of like, you know what, I can't go try out at Rampage because I'm not ready. Or like I don't want to be the biggest club. I want to be the strongest.
Yeah.
Or there's a sense of when they, maybe even the parents or maybe some of the kids, obviously they're a little younger maybe, but when they do or they have the ability to play in the club, they're like, it's a more of a sense of achievement because they're like,
right.
I was
it kind
able.
of weeds them out on its own without you having to go through those tough conversations.
Right.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of kids that come out and they'll be like, man, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. Like this is too hard. And I tell the parents because the parents are like, oh, I want my kid to do this, and I'm just like, look, day 1 it's going to be hard. Day 2, day 3, day 4 is going to be hard. Yeah. 2 weeks in, they're going to get used to it. This is going to be normal to them.
Yeah.
And then it just comes down, to that. Like I have my daughter like somebody would be like, hey, man, you know, can your daughter come in for a training session on us? I'm like, sure, a trainer or something. And she'd be like, man, that was so boring. And I'm like,
compared to what you...
I mean, we're like super high intense. Like, if you guys were to see what we do to these kids, you're like,
I guess we got to go to a workout.
I would love to go to a workout. I'm not going to work out.
We're not going to make the team or nothing. Like,
definitely not. I'll be a cheerleader, bro.
He's going to have a conversation with you like, Lou, Sab is not going to make the cut.
Listen, your baby Sabby is not going to make it. He's not going to.
You know, but like, that's kind of one of the things that we're like proud of, you know? Super high intense. You know, your kids got to want to do this. I want the kids to like their eyes to light up and be like, hey man, this was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like this was so hard. Like, I want to do this. I want to move like these guys, you know? Stuff like that.
It's also too, I guess from that, because I played for Park District wise, you can also see kids that are there's just, it's uneven.
100%.
And a lot of the kids that are playing really well, they probably get bored, or they probably, I mean, I can't speak for them because I wasn't one of those kids that were like destined to play that. I was just sitting on the ground.
Your nose on the side.
Just sitting on the ground like, whatever.
You were that kid that came around shirtless.
Yeah, shirtless. But you can probably tell that sometimes it's just not fun to play with someone that is not as great, that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Rather than with your club, all of them kind of, they're learning together at the same level. They're kind of progressing at the same level. Obviously, there's going to be some situations where one is going to learn a lot better. But when they play, it works like they're playing for a major league because of the fact that they are on the same learning curve.
There's a consistency, you know. There's a cadence to the training, and there's a culture.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that we talk about with our coaches. Like you can train these kids however you want.
Yeah.
There's a set of fundamentals that we need you to achieve. How you get there is up to you. You're a coach for a reason. I'm not going to tell you how to coach these kids. Now, most of our guys have 6 months to a year of training with me or my business partner before they can get a team.
I like that.
Yeah, but there's a consistency with all the training, you know. So it's like you can take a kid that plays on X team and move him up a year to another team. And he's going to play similar style because the style is the same within the whole club.
Yeah.
So nobody ever feels lost. You know, can I borrow a player? Can I borrow a player? And they'll go. But the parents never feel like, man, my kid's so out of it. Yeah, he might not be as great as this kid, but he's doing similar things. So the parents are like, okay, my kid's on the way there.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Can you break down, because you have over 20 teams.
Yeah.
All have coaches. All have probably assistant coaches. All have their own little
team
operations. Yeah. Correct. Bless you.
Thank you. Jinx.
Jinx. Sorry. Run a lap. I'm sorry, please.
Shirt comes off.
Shoes.
Stop copying me.
Can you go through? So where are they located? Are they located pretty much all around Northern Illinois? And you guys have like a meetings and such things like that? Because essentially you all are playing under this umbrella.
Correct.
And it's been about 3 years, so they're the same coaches at this point, almost. Some of them have to go through their process of training. But can you go through like as far as like where they're located, and if maybe, because obviously that may be someone that there's a viewer that they're like in this area and they're like, oh, I never even knew that was a resource for my kid. I
mean, it really depends on how bad the parents want it.
Okay.
And what they're willing to do for their kids.
Because how far does it stretch?
To that same point, it depends on how bad the parents want it. We don't care. You know, I have a lot of parents from Joliet. I have parents from Shorewood. I got parents from like, you know, Aurora. We had somebody from St. Charles. You know, it really depends on what the parents are willing to do for their kids.
Okay.
Like, there's been so many times where parents would be like, man, if you guys were just closer, you know. And then there's those parents that are like, look, this is a 45-minute drive to an hour drive for me. For an hour and a half practice. I'm going to do it 3 times a week for you to train my kid. So it really depends. It's
a big move. So all the teams are, okay, so then I guess I'm saying this wrong.
Where the majority of kids come from?
No, where is the training taking place?
So we have our own home fields in Naperville.
Okay.
We're like 5 minutes away from downtown Naperville. We got about 4 acres there. And all of our practices there and our home games are there.
Is that like next to the college campus with
Close.
Okay.
Yeah, we're down the street from them.
Okay.
You know where a restaurant's called? It's called like Maison Sabika.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally that field right next to it is where we train at.
That's awesome.
So we're there. Most of the kids come from Naperville. A lot of the kids come from the school that's right in the parking lot. So the kids like come out of school and they walk onto the field and they, you know.
Okay.
But it really depends, you know.
So all of the teams practice in that.
All 21
facility.
teams practice there?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
everybody has their own times.
Okay.
You know, so like the majority of the younger kids train from 4:30 to 6, and everybody has their own coach. But like every coach doesn't like. There's not like one coach per team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like every coach has a few teams. Like me personally, I train 5 teams a week.
Wow.
Right. So it's like I work 7 days a week. I'm there Monday through Friday training, and then the weekends I have a minimum of 5 games every weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And it's like, oh, you got a game at 8:00 here. I got to travel an hour and a half over here, and then an hour back. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, we're all there. The younger guys are 4:30 to 6, and the older guys are 6 to 7:30.
Okay.
Okay. And so are you training a few teams at once then?
No, we give everybody their own.
Nice.
Their own
Designated
individual
time.
practice.
Yeah, there's a few teams that like we might be like, you know what, like I have a group of like 8th grader girls. They're an awesome group. They're a brand new team, and it was like one of those teams that kind of like fell together. Some from this club, from that club, and it worked out. They gelled well. We had our first season this last season, and they went undefeated.
Wow.
And I'm like, nobody expected that, you know?
Yeah.
And they just played so well. So with them,
And they had no history together?
No
These are
history.
all, wow.
But you know, all the parents are super committed. The girls are super committed to the point where they make it an effort where they hang out once a week, like at downtown Naperville. They all go to Starbucks or something together, and stuff like that. So that's what it really comes down to. The parents gotta want it. The kids gotta want it. But for them specifically, they train twice a day by themselves with me, and then the third day, they train with the boys, same age.
Nice.
Okay.
But they get like pushed around more, and it's higher competition for them. So
It's just a different sense of aggressiveness and everything.
I mean, some girls don't like it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Because it's just going to teach them different maneuvers, whatever it may be, that will allow them to navigate through the field a little better.
The speed of play is completely different from the boys and the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Girls are just so much smarter players.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't want to make mistakes. They play everything simple. It's really nice to watch. The boys are like, watch me take the whole team.
Yeah.
You know, watch me score from half field. You know,
Yeah.
that's the boys. You know, they try ridiculous things, but you know, like
Now, with this many teams, do you come up with the names, with the logos? Like, how does that work of those 21 or 20 teams that you have?
I mean, it's all under one umbrella, so they'll just be, you know, Windy City Rampage.
Oh, I get what
Whatever
you're saying.
year
The year. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was like
And if we-
individual teams.
No, so
Okay.
it's just one. That'd be crazy. It'd be a lot of
Yeah,
stuff, right?
you'd have like a
Wow.
whole league.
Yeah, seriously. Should have gone that route, more money. People always joke around. Like,
We'll
oh,
talk after the show.
Yeah,
we'll
right.
talk
I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm gonna have research.
He starts putting on a jersey he made himself. So how'd you come up with the name then?
That was a hard one, man. That was Rampage. That was a hard one. We kind of
It's like it. The more I look at it and you're talking, I like the color scheme and stuff of it too. It's clean.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So with the name, it was tough. Like it took us like 6 months just for the name. We were always like, oh, let's go with this or that, or like I know one of the top picks was like the Illinois Gunners, and I'm like, I don't know if that's fitting or like the Chicago Gunners. I'm like, do we have a problem here in Chicago? I don't know if we want to go with that.
Yeah. The parents would hate that.
Yeah,
one.
dude. But you know, and then there's so many different ideas, and then I just started like, you know, just thinking like I was like, what's like aggressive? What's, you know, what are the kids gonna enjoy saying? And I was like, and I wrote it down, and I was like, Rampage, you know, Rampage FC, and I was like, kind of like it, and it was just sitting on my paper, and I would look at it every day. I'm like, I kind of like this, and I showed my business partner, and he's like, I don't know, man. And then like same thing next day, he's like, the more I think about it, the more I like it. And then with the Windy City, a lot of people are like, oh, how come you guys go with Windy City? We travel so much out of state that we want people to know where we're from.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to be like the Naperville Rampage. Where's Naperville? Same thing. Where's Joliet?
Yeah.
We're from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So,
Or at least the Chicagoland area is so mass that technically, I mean, it is the Windy City. You know, it is.
Yeah.
So it matches too as well. Now, have you ever, I guess, would you ever, is there the chance that you would play against other organizations too? Like maybe your top team, whoever won out of, because you have championships, correct? Would you ever do it to where that team faces another team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the league within itself, I mean, like, so for example, my daughter Mia, she's a 2011, right? So she has her team, and we play against other clubs.
Nice.
You know, and then it's the same thing as like the NBA. There's X number of teams. We all compete against each other a few times a season. You know, winners up top.
Okay, so it does happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just a normal season. But we do have like tournaments. We go to a lot of tournaments, and you know, there'll be like, I think it's like 4 games, and then whoever wins all 4 would advance and play the other side of the table. You know. So.
Do you enjoy that? You get to kind of see.
It's cool. I love tournaments. For me, are my favorite. It's like little vacations.
Yeah, but you get to kind of see your training against someone else's, because I'm assuming obviously there's individuals or clubs rather that are kind of doing similar to what you're doing. There's it's under this umbrella and they're all kind of have the same training across the board, or some of them you play and you're like, yeah, this is really chaotic, like this is all over the place.
Yeah, I want to say there's very few clubs in Illinois that have a consistency in training.
Okay.
Like most teams, like there's some massive $1 million clubs in Illinois that like some of their coaches are really good, and some of them are just a bunch of Joe Schmoes that they just picked up because they needed people to coach these teams because everybody wants to play there.
Yeah.
So it really depends, you know. Like at least for us, like even if we lose a game, people saw our style that we're trying to play. Like the style that we play, it's super possessive. Like we try to keep the ball as much as we can. Like, you know, the other team can't score, they don't get the ball. You know, so it's like, you know, we encourage our younger kids to not like the goalies not pick up the ball and punt it 20 yards, you know, and give a 50-50. We'll like play it out to our defender. And it's their job to either take somebody on one-on-one or build out of the back by passing and connecting. Okay. So at the younger ages, we'll lose a lot. You know, we tell the parents all the time, like, listen, it's okay. Like this is normal. You know, I've had teams where we went almost a whole year of losing. I think it was like 2 seasons of losing every game, and in the 3rd season, we finally tied a game. But we were trying to stay true to our style.
Yeah.
And they went like 2-3 years undefeated after that.
Wow.
They're the number 2 team in the state. You know, and it's just like, and this was when I was still in my other club, but that team plays here now. But it's just tough, and it's tough for parents too. You know, I want my kid to win. I'm like, you got to see the big picture, man.
Yeah.
You got to see the reason on what you're trying to do.
And if they're always winning, that's not healthy too for the kid itself. He thinks, you know, when he loses, he's an absolute failure. When it's like you have to lose to appreciate the wins.
Exactly. You know, you don't know like what to teach the kids. If you're consistently winning, eventually you're just gonna be like, man, we're great.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
What I'm doing now is working. I'll give you a prime example. My older boys, my 8th graders, they all think they're ballers, and they're great players. You know, and we're playing up a year at a really high level, and we're destroying people. And we played this team the other day, and they had like won nationals and stuff, and we're like, meh, whatever. They destroyed us. Like we barely had the ball. Like, you know, the way they outmaneuvered us, and they like scored when they wanted to. They picked their times, you know, and they kind of showed us we have it all. We can pass, we can shoot, we have skill, you know. But it comes down to like that big club thing where they have specifically good teams. Not all their teams are good, but that was a good opportunity for me to be like I take notes during my games. You know, I have my notepad. I'm like, okay, cool. We got broke down like this. This happened here. This happened here. Right. So when I look at my training sessions, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna address this week? You know. So, yeah, they got to lose.
And so, what was the locker room discussion?
Oh my god, it was so bad. These kids are always like talking mad. You know, like they're just like always like their heads are so big. Like it's not even funny. And no one had anything to say.
Yeah.
Everyone was just like, damn, what happened?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, we'll lose here and there, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. But to get destroyed the way they did, and some of these kids like, oh, well, they just won nationals. I'm like, it don't matter, man. You guys claim to be the best out here. Like, you guys got to play like it.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is that they played similar style to us. And when they did it better, my kids were like, man,
Ooh.
You know, like,
Yeah.
man, they can do that too. Because normally, like, if you lose a game, as a player, you'll always pick something. Oh, well, they're a long ball team. They just kick it forward and the whole team runs and scores.
Right.
Yeah.
We try to keep the ball. We try to play the soccer the right way. But when a team plays you, your style, and beats you,
Yeah.
the kids are like, okay, we got beat today.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I mean, do you think that it was ultimately came down to they have the obviously you're going to say they have the ability to beat them,
Yeah.
but it's that sense of comfort because of that
Right.
always winning.
Yeah,
So
for
you're
sure.
like, oh, we don't, whatever. We don't really have to adjust to this team or make any adjustments in league or in between, whatever it is, because of that.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I come from like a background of like a lot of individual sports, like
Okay.
running, wrestling, and I know that whenever I lost or something, it was all on me.
Right.
So like when you're talking right now, when the kids say like they're coming up with excuses, so how do you coach them through it to like even though it's a team sport, individually you all lost. You know what I mean? Like you lost your game. It wasn't because of someone else's fault or this. You know what I mean? So how do you coach them through that? How do you?
It's a good question, but it's always scenario based, like, you know, or situation based. But I tell the kids all the time, like, we win and we lose as a team. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if we won by 100 or lost by 100. We all could have played our part, you know. And I always try to give them like situations that like happen in my life, like I'm sure with you with your sports. Like I try to tell them like, look, you know, I remember once in high school where, you know, I made a run and I didn't get the ball and I walked back because I was pissed. And then they scored on my side because the guy that I was supposed to be defending, I didn't get back because I was too mad or I was too lazy to get back, you know, or I wasn't in shape to get back. And I was like, and we could have won that game if I would, you know, we wouldn't have lost that game if I would have done that. And I try to explain to them little situations like that. But a lot of the kids do that. Oh, well, I had my side, you know, and they'll be like, okay, let's just say you play on the right side. You know, if their forward is super fast, and it's got great foot skills, what can you do to help your defender? You're just gonna be like, all right, dude, you got it. Like, no, you gotta help him out. You know, tell him to press, go behind him, cover him, so he feels comfortable that if he gets beat, you're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always like situation based, but they gotta understand to work hard. Like I always tell them, like, effort is one thing that you control. You know, if you're having a bad day shooting, work on your stick to your passing. If you can't pass, focus on your defending. If you can't defend, focus on your effort. Effort is everything.
Yep.
You know, so at the end of the day, you know, you have those players too that like are the go-to player, and if they're upset or having a bad day, everyone is all of a sudden having a bad day. So
Right.
it's a lot more mental than one would think, because it's just like, what do I do now?
Now, do you have to sometimes check yourself too as a coach, so maybe if you are reflecting that onto the team, so you always have to like look in the mirror too, like, am I causing this too on my part?
Yep. And I think that's the hardest part as a coach,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like your parent, you know, you're a parent, you're always right, you always want to be right, but you have to take time to reflect on yourself, like, okay, like maybe these decisions are not right, maybe what I've been teaching them on how to defend here, you know, but you know, going back to that example with the boys that got destroyed, I was talking to my business partner because he went to go watch the game, and he was furious, you know. He's like, man, the way they broke you down, that shouldn't have happened, this and that. And it kind of like hit home for me. And in my head, same thing. Like I had to take a look in the mirror. Like, what am I doing wrong? You know, like what? If we're this great team and our style works all the time or most of the time, right? Like, what am I doing wrong? You know, and like it kind of just came down to not necessarily what I was doing wrong, but the opportunities that I was providing them with. You know, so it's like that team that we play against plays in multiple leagues, you know, and they compete for nationals and stuff like that. This is just an extra league that they get to get extra games in. So like I told my boys, I was like, we can't prep to play against teams like that if we never played teams like that. You know, so like for me, like now a change that I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in that higher league. It's more expensive, you know, but you're going to play teams like that all the time. And that's where we can adjust.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I could be like, now I know what I have to do because I'm playing this team week in, week out. If I play a team that I can destroy 20-0, and then I play you and you destroy me 20-0, like you said, going back to Park District is all over the place.
Yeah.
Right.
So I want to kind of segue into that as far as this next season. So your season just ended.
Yep.
And when does the next season start?
It starts in December.
Oh, that's not that long.
Mm-mm.
So
So we're a year-round club.
okay,
Just throw that in there. Yeah.
because it's indoors. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we go in there.
I guess I was assuming you had a lot more time, but when because I was gonna.
What are you gonna do in this week?
Do you
off?
play in that,
Yeah.
that sports complex right there in Naperville?
The Naperville Yard.
Yeah, it's the big dome one, right?
Oh no, that's the one in Aurora.
Okay.
Sometimes, I mean, like me personally, I play there.
Yeah.
But our teams don't. No.
Okay.
I guess what I was asking is what is, because you just touched on the adjustments you may make business wise too as well to benefit them. What other things do you see that you want to do? Maybe within the next 5 years, or maybe within this next season, that you want to change. Kind of going back onto the fact that you said, I want to put them in a different league where they're playing this, higher caliber of teams that they don't always get to play. Like, what kind of steps do you see, and what kind of things do you want to get into this, not only this next season, but then ultimately within like maybe the next 5 years?
I guess I'll address it like in two ways, right? Like with teams and business. As far as teams, like we kind of came to the realization that these kids need more games. We train a lot, but the older they get, the more games they need to play.
Mm-hmm.
There's some teams that play 3-4 games a weekend, and they just gel. They just gel. They know where each other is at. But if my team is playing 1 game a weekend, or every other week because we had a break or something, right? Like it's off weekend or something, they're not going to gel like these teams, and they're never going to compete at that extremely high level that we want them to compete for nationals and things like that. That's more for like the older teams.
Yeah.
But things like that, just kind of be a little bit more aware of like what specific teams need versus just what the whole club needs.
Yeah.
And like in the business aspect, there's just so many different things. Going back to like the kind of person that I am, like I want to do it all. I think I can do it all, and I can't. But just wear many hats and try to change the business for the better. We actually just started up a non-for-profit side of it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's called Equal Opportunity Soccer Foundation, so EOS Soccer Foundation. The purpose behind it is that we sponsor a lot of players. We have kids that come from like Aurora or even out here in Joliet or like Romeoville, and they drive far, or the parents don't have money, and they're just good players. They have good ambition. They want to play. Sometimes they don't even have to be the best, but they want to be there. And that kind of like hits home for like me, where my parents didn't know anything. And if I wanted to play somewhere, like I had to be good to play somewhere, or,
right.
And I don't want the parents to have to feel like that, like, oh, well, I can't afford it, et cetera, et cetera. So we sponsor players. We'll have like, for example, like with the fees, like $2,600.
Mm-hmm.
Some players only pay $1,000 or $1,500, but it depends on the situation. There's specific forms you have to fill out, of course, but
Yeah.
Right.
we want to be able to give everybody the same opportunity, because there's so many players that are unseen because of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of knowledge, or players that don't go to college because they didn't understand it, or the parents don't know about it. So we just started this up. We're gonna have like our first like board meeting and stuff like that in the upcoming weeks, and everything, the bylaws and everything's kind of we're just trying to figure it out.
Okay.
But
Exciting.
it is exciting. It is exciting because we want to be able to give back. We want to be able to have everybody play. Nobody should not have the opportunity to play,
Right.
especially play.
I want to talk about that too as well. We'll go back to your plan, but I'm reading this book called Outliers, and they talk about that specifically. Have you read that book? Or so? I mean, the book is about overall things as far as like exceptions, like how some people say like I did it without money, but obviously they had some sort of genetic exception, or they had some at the right time, right moment, whatever. And they were talking about leagues like hockey, where there are situations where it's statistically they're born in certain times of the year, so they get to start their league early, right? So that kind of happens for you too as well, correct? Like if someone's born on a certain day, they get to start school sooner, or they get to start soccer sooner, or whatever it is sooner.
It used to be like that for soccer.
Okay.
It's not like that anymore.
Okay.
Now they go birth year.
Okay. So what they were talking about that too as well was kind of touching on how money becomes an issue when it is to get people involved into these better resources. And they were speaking on how some of these kids, because they start sooner, they get picked because the maturity of them is a factor in them being able to play better. And then they get vetted into a program which ultimately provides them better resources and scholarships and all that kind of stuff. So when you have kids where you already do, where I guess they have these obstacles to overcome, where it's financially, like, you know, whatever it may be, how do you think soccer leagues can better that situation where they find, I guess more so if there's a kid that's dealing with that situation, what advice would you have for them where they may not come from the better, you know, family situation or money situation or funding, whatever it may be, to get the resources that you're providing or to become better at it?
Right. One thing I would say, and this goes out to the kids and the parents too, is like, don't let your pride take, you know, place of what you're really trying to accomplish, or, you know, don't worry about it. Like, a lot of people are afraid to ask. A lot of people don't want to feel embarrassed. Oh, well, I need help financially, or, you know, or the kids, obviously the kids don't know, you know, but the parents, like, it's okay. Like we've all been there.
Yeah.
You know, some more than others, me more than others. At the end of the day, like, it's okay. Like, that's one thing that I've learned throughout my life is you can't be afraid to be honest with people. You got to be open with people. And because there's good people out there.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody comes up to me like, hey, listen, my kid wants to play, I'm not financially there. Like, I'll sit down with that parent. We'll work something out. I'll find a way. There's so many different things that the parents can do. Like, we have some parents that, like, do volunteer work for us. They'll run tables for us to sell gear. They'll help us out with our big events. You know, we have an event at the beginning of the year we call the welcome event, and we invite the whole club, and we'll have a big cookout together.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like they'll bring dishes or stuff like that. There's so many different things, but that would be my advice to them, would be, like, don't be afraid to reach out, you know.
Because I guess with your non-for-profit and all these things, you do come from a background where you do see it and you seek trying to help. Yeah. Because that's a big thing, especially for being able to achieve higher success, is that there is that underlining thing where, you know, sometimes to get those better resources, you have to pay, you know, more, or you have to buy better equipment. You have to buy, you know, depending on certain sports, you have to buy certain things for your attire, whatever it may be, that's going to better you, the better shoes, the better whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of bizarre to me, because in the book they were talking about how sometimes, you know, those individuals that come from families that have more money, they're going to get things easier that allows them that upper hand. And kind of hearing you talk about how, like, how you just want to, I guess I'm just saying it's kind of fascinating.
No, I think that's a good conversation too in its own, because then you'll have that kid that has that underdog, just edge to them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some kids, if they're handed so much at an early age, they might not appreciate it as much. They might not tap into the resources as much either. You know what I mean? Unless you give it to a kid that comes from a less fortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, if he ultimately loves the sport or whatever it is, I think he's still going to excel even at the kid that has all the resources in front of him.
Yeah. I don't know. I never knew that portion of it. Like I said, I never came from a background where I was deep into sports, so I had to face those obstacles. But you speaking on that, where, like, oh yeah, I can see that now. There's kids that are going to deal with those things that, you know, their family's not coming from the best thing, but they just want to be able to play with your league or their club or whatever it is. And they, you know, they're trying to find ways to make it feasible, whatever.
Yeah, and it's insane because most of those kids are, like, super humble.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're, like, super humble kids. Like, you know, you'll take them out to it. Okay, thanks. What can I work on? Versus the other kids are like, oh, why'd you take me out? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Or whatever the case may be.
Shirts off.
Yeah, shirts off, shoes off, you know. Brings back so many memories, you know, but they're just super humble kids.
Yeah.
You know, they come in, they shake your hand before practice. They shake your hand and thank you after practice. And, you know, and this is, I'm sure, stuff that is taught, you know, but also things that they do by themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so it just, you know, I'm really big on, like, the way you're raised, you know, and the morals that you're teaching these kids. And, like we try to do that with like our kids, like at the club. Like we try not to step in the parents, aspect of it, but like
I'm your daddy now.
yeah.
Look at me.
But there's so many things that I'm just like, dude, that's not okay, man. Like,
Yeah.
and we're, like I said, man, we're super strict. Like there's so many times where I tell kids, like, I need you to understand that what you're doing, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen here. If you want to do this, go home, not here, you know? So it's like, there's so many little things like that. We try to do a lot of volunteer work too, because a lot of these kids in Naperville, they are privileged, and some of them don't have to struggle. Some of them never get to see those things. But one thing I would say is that a lot of our families are like super involved within the community, which I love it. Some of these parents have so much money and they're still making their kids like work to buy their iPad, or what I mean, or something. And I love it. Yeah. So we just want to make sure that's consistent, like throughout the club, and manners are there and things like that.
Do you see a clash of cultures from kids that are from that area compared to kids that are from like around here?
Yeah, for sure. It's just so different.
Because then you're like, you hear that from schools too as well. Like, when you go to a school and another school, somebody like, oh, you're from Joliet, whatever, like that. But I mean, you can kind of see that. And almost that's kind of why I go back to the fact that everyone's kind of training the same way rather than a park district, because even with those clash of cultures, now they're like, oh, like he's just as good as me. He plays just as well. I'm learning something from him. And then, they're talking about their own personal experiences, and you get those. And
it really helps both sides, right? Like the kids that do come from like rural areas, and the people that come from like more privileged areas, and the kids, like you said, can compare each other and be like, man, we're the same. Yeah. We're the same person. Or the parents be like, man, that kid doesn't have anything, or sometimes they'll be like, hey, man. Like there's some parents that will be like, hey, we're going to go to St. Louis. Hey, man, don't worry about his room. I got it. Things like that. And it's like these kids wouldn't have these opportunities if it wasn't for the soccer, aspect of it.
That's awesome.
So I think that, to me, that's the most fascinating part about it, is seeing these parents open their arms and, not just their wallets, but helping each other out. Yeah. I think that's super cool.
So we kind of ended right there. I want to actually have you tell us where people can find everything. So once again, just kind of, because I'll break it up into segments. All this will be kind of cut out anyways. I only use I only use like 2 portions of it. I have Soccer League. That's it. If you can just say
Rejekts. I turned Asian so
fast. That's it. Just go ahead and say your name again, and then also into that camera, say your name again, and then not only touch on your own personal like website as far as how people can reach out and get these resources, but also the nonprofit. So this way I can just kind of put those on the screen.
I don't know if we want to put the non-for-profit out there yet. There's nothing set for it yet. I just literally filed my paperwork.
Okay, let's just focus on the
I'll cut
City
all that
Rampage
off then. Yeah.
No, I mean we could throw it on there because we're legit. I got the text earlier today saying that it was accepted, so we're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just having to set up the board and everything like that. So.
Well, this will be put out in like 2-3 weeks, so
that's fine. We got time.
We got time. Okay, so that's gonna be a wrap for us. Sab, do you have any last minute things?
No, I feel like I want to go play soccer now.
I'll train you.
I specifically told, like, when we put this kind of, when we bring people in, I sometimes don't give him information as much. Because I'm
like,
always,
who are we talking to? Oh, one of my guys. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, or like I just have, because I always look at it where I may overcomplicate things, but that's how my brain is working, where I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what you do and what you are doing. Like, I know you personally, or I may know the guest personally, but I'm also coming at it where I'm trying to take something that is so complex to me and break it down. And then for him, he's looking at it where this is the most time I think you've talked in a lot of interviews because of the fact that he's learning. It's a great thing for me to kind of take. So I think that's a great way to.
Thanks, Papa.
Thank you, Papa. I think it's a great way for both of us to kind of learn things too well.
It's definitely eye-opening, man. Like the soccer world, like me, when I got into it, I didn't think it was going to be this complex.
No.
I was like, we're going to train and that's it. Have
well,
some games.
my dad watches it. it. Even my nephew, he played it, and he has this love for it that is completely different than what I had. Like he loves it. He plays, even FIFA. He'll know all those players. He'll play it in the leagues, but he plays in a park district, and you can see like his love for it because of my grandpa. Because of my dad, his grandpa. So yeah, I mean, it's bizarre to me because the fact that I feel disengaged, or I feel like it's foreign to me, the whole how it's set up and how the rules are played. I couldn't even tell you what the rules or anything like that. But
actually, this last year I actually took a soccer class at my college, which was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's dope.
So I know
random.
Yeah, just I know offsides. I know.
Dude, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
offsides is a hard one to explain. We don't have another hour. For
we
don't want to get in there.
Oh, that's why I was playing the game with him, and I was playing it, and I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "You're offside." I was like, "Well, I'm not playing this anymore. I don't even know why did they give me like a rule book with this?" Dude, yeah, so it is very complicated, and that's why showing light on it. I mean, we'll always have you back on, man. Yeah, obviously, when you get things kind of even that next step or something like that. I know you so well. I know that obviously your drive is like crazy. I've only met so many people that have not only the ideas for things and the passion for things, like to generate the creativity of it, but also to put the first step and the second step and start moving it, whether they're small steps or whatever. I completely like.
A lot of people just think I'm crazy.
No, when I met you, like it was almost frustrating sometimes because you're like, I don't got the answers, man. Rico, please, man. I don't I just want to come to work. That's it. I'm not ready.
He would call off. I'm not ready for this.
I don't want. Oh, you don't want to go to work because it's like tough. No, I just don't want to.
He did research. I don't know what
he just
want to
knows
do yet.
He brought a PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's like hold on. The customer's like, no, give me a minute. Yeah. So right here, I think like in 5 years, I have a good projections. So go ahead and in the camera right there, once again, just kind of repeat who you are, the company you represent, the club, and where they can find you at. Even your own, if you want to, plug your own personal Twitter handles, or
all right,
you lose like 10 followers, and then even
this guy for sure,
or Facebook page, whatever it is, that's the best way to kind of find you.
Okay,
and then look deep into that camera.
I want you to zoom in right now.
Yeah. Just right there.
Once again, my name is Enrique, also known as Rico, or Coach Rico to the players. Mm-hmm. You can find all of the information for the soccer club at windycityrampage.com, whether it be to try out or if you just want some training only. You guys can also follow me at rico.rampage on IG as well.
Perfect. Sab, you want to go ahead and exit out? I'm just going to put that part that you said all the stuff at and put it at the end. I'm going to cut all this out because it's just going to be a bunch of bleep, 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 bleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. This has been Radio Rejekts.
And we're out.
We're out.
Peace.
We're out.